Episode 9. Seraphina's plan was executed with icy precision. Her select team of executives, shadowy and efficient figures of the Moon faction, slipped through the outer perimeter of the Olympus City police base like ghosts. Unlike Kael's furious assault, this attack was surgical, a sharp scalpel aimed at the heart of the defense. The first blow was struck by Seraphina's infiltrated agents. Inside the police complex, they activated a series of silent sabotages. Security systems went dark, surveillance cameras flickered and died, and internal communications failed. The chaos was minimal at first, almost imperceptible, but enough to create the breaches Seraphina needed. As the internal confusion spread, Seraphina's group attacked the most vulnerable entry points. There were no loud explosions or frontal assaults. Instead, they used advanced infiltration tools to neutralize sensors and open doors with chilling efficiency. Once inside, they faced the 24/7 surveillance and the double team of Class A adapters tasked with protecting the weapon. These defenders, hardened by countless battles, were formidable, but Seraphina was not one to underestimate her opponents or allow ego to dictate her tactics. Seraphina did not rush into battle indiscriminately. Her orders were clear and concise: neutralize the Class A adapters with the least resistance possible. Her executives, each a master in their specialty, moved in perfect synchronicity. They used coordinated attacks that combined distraction with lethal force. An illusion expert could disorient an adapter, while a stealth combatant flanked them and immobilized them with a precise blow. A technology expert nullified their communication devices, isolating them from the rest of the base. Seraphina herself moved like a shadow among shadows, using her sharp intelligence to predict enemy movements and direct her team. When forced into direct combat, her movements were cold and decisive. Her power of ice manipulation and creation, a formidable resource, remained latent, unused. She saw no need for it, relying on the efficiency of her plan and the skill of her team. This mastery of her abilities, reserving them for true necessity, underscored the coldness and control that defined her character. Her combat style was calculating, using the weakness of her adversaries and the strength of her own team to overcome the defenses. The fight was intense but silent compared to what was about to happen at the Orion Manor. Screams were few, shots muffled. The priority was discretion and efficiency. Slowly, the double team of Class A adapters was neutralized, and the remaining police security groups were quickly subdued by the cunning and coordinated force of the Moon F executives. The path to the weapon was clear. In the heat of the silent assault, one of the Class A adapters, named Raphael, demonstrated unexpected cunning. Aware that the invaders were gaining ground, he activated his aura and conjured a dense smoke wall. A thick curtain quickly rose, hindering the movements of Seraphina's executive group. The surprise was palpable. The attackers stopped, momentarily disoriented by being detected. From a distance, observing the scene, Seraphina smiled slightly. A spark of interest ignited in her eyes at the sight of someone offering a calculated resistance against all odds. Raphael tried to use his communicator, but it was inactive, a victim of the attack on the defense systems by the Moon faction. With no time to waste, he decided to retreat down the corridor, heading quickly toward the base's control room. Upon arrival, he barricaded the door, gaining precious seconds before the attack group arrived to take control of the facilities. Immediately, he desperately searched for a device to communicate with his guild and report the attack. The moment was crucial. As he searched, he watched in horror as the barricaded door slowly began to freeze from bottom to top, a relentless frost covering and solidifying it. In his desperation, his eyes located a communication device, apparently unaffected by the EMP system. He called the Dawn's emergency number. The secretary of the Dawn, on the other end of the line, answered, and her face transformed from routine to astonishment upon hearing Raphael's message. With an expression of urgency, she hurried toward the hall where the guild meeting was taking place to inform her master, Augusto Orion. Hanging up the call, Raphael knew his situation was desperate. Salvation was unlikely. In a final act of defiance, he tried to destroy the command center, hoping to slow the Moon faction's advance. However, at that precise moment, the door gave way. With a thunderous crunch, the panel of ice shattered into fragments, revealing Seraphina in the doorway. "So this is where you were hiding," Seraphina said, her icy voice echoing in the control room. With a gesture of her hand, she indicated to her executives, "Capture him." The executives immediately rushed Raphael, immobilizing him. "You won't get away with this." Raphael replied, his voice filled with helplessness and contained rage. The receptionist, an energetic young woman named Daisy, burst into the hall, her face pale with urgency. She threw open the doors, her voice barely a gasp. "I have an urgent message, Master Orion." Augusto looked at her with a raised eyebrow, the interruption unusual in the middle of the summit. He motioned for her to approach. Daisy leaned in and then whispered the contents of Raphael's call into his ear. Augusto's expression hardened. He turned toward an imposing figure beside him. "Lily," he said firmly, "I need you to contact Raphael and inform me what is happening at the police base immediately." Lily, the current vice-captain of the Dawn Guild, nodded seriously. Her white aura ignited, an ethereal glow enveloping her. One of the members of the Lotus Flower Guild, who had been observing with interest, asked softly, "What is happening?" Lily's eyes widened, emitting an intense white light that was not of this world. "Consciousness link active," she declared, and immediately began to describe the situation in a voice that, though her own, resonated with a distant echo. Seraphina's attack and her executives at the police base. The defenses were practically swept away. Lily's consciousness link is a unique ability. Depending on the degree of trust and knowledge of the recipient, it can be gradual or total, even taking over the body for a period of time. Through Raphael, Lily continued, Seraphina has Raphael cornered in the command cabin. In his subconscious, Raphael desperately communicated with Lily. "I'm not getting out of this alive, Lily. Inform the master that I will try to buy as much time as possible." Lily, sensing Raphael's fatalism, intervened through the link. "Raphael, I don't want you to keep having those thoughts. Help will soon be on the way to the base." In the police base's command cabin, Seraphina observed Raphael. The change in his expression, the sudden stiffness, gave him away. Her smile widened, a calculating and cold gesture. "Is this Vice-Captain Lily's total link?" she asked, her voice tinged with mockery. "A pleasure to have you with us, my dear Lily." Through Raphael's body, Lily's voice resonated with authority, not the panic of the Class A adapter. "Seraphina, we already know what you're looking for. And you won't get out of this." Seraphina laughed, a dry, icy sound. "It's others who won't be getting out, my dear Lily." At that very instant, the strident alarms of the Orion Manor echoed throughout the luxurious building, abruptly cutting the tense silence of the summit. Augusto, with an expression of controlled fury, ordered the screen lowered to activate the security cameras. However, on the radio carried by the members of the Dawn security team, only static and fragmented voices could be heard. "Master Orion, we are trying to reactivate the system. We haven't had communication with the control center." Seraphina's infiltration had been deeper than anyone had anticipated. The leader of the Lightning Guild, Baltazar, whose patience had run out, roared, "We have some rats nearby. It's time for extermination." His words echoed in the hall, charged with electricity. At that same moment, Lily's consciousness link deactivated. With a pale face and a body trembling from the excessive strain of the connection, she barely managed to murmur, "We have to go rescue Raphael, as soon as possible, Master Orion." Augusto Orion, seeing Lily's confirmation, reacted with his characteristic determination. He directed his gaze at two of his subordinates, the known Pulsar brothers. "Check the situation at the control center," he ordered. Without a word, the Pulsar brothers ignited their aura, deploying incredible speed. They moved like flashes, evading everyone present and rushing out of the hall towards the mansion's control center. But before they could get very far, a series of explosions and tremors shook the Orion Manor. The sound came from outside, indicating that the Moon faction's attack was not limited to the interior, but had reached the very doors of the guild meeting. Faced with the imminent threat, Adrian stood up with a determined expression. "Diana, contact Sophia," he instructed urgently. "Inform her of the attack and have her guard the rookies against any eventuality." Caesar, without a second thought, was already walking resolutely toward the hall door, his eyes shining with anticipation. He was ready for what, to him, promised to be an entertaining battle. Bruno tried to calm him, stepping into his path. "Caesar, wait. We need all the information to create a proper plan. We can't just..." Caesar laughed, interrupting him. "You guys will have the plan when I've already finished off everyone." His aura began to pulse with impatience. Diana raised her communicator and her face furrowed, I have no signal, she told the others, the worry evident in her voice. Her attempt to contact Sophia had failed. The same panic spread among the meeting attendees, who checked their own devices, and everyone confirmed the terrible news. The attack had left them incommunicado. Diana looked at Adrian seriously. The news had transformed the Cardinal's face. His expression, which had been one of concentration, now reflected an urgency that was uncharacteristic of him. The strategy meeting had become a farce. The only option was immediate action. We need to mobilize to help defend against the attack, Adrian said firmly. Diana, come with me. Caesar, you and Bruno prepare the counterattack. We have to buy time for people to evacuate. Augusto Orion, with a voice of steel that silenced the murmuring in the hall, declared to all guests, no one is going to breach the Dawn Guild. His authority was undeniable. At that moment, the radio crackled. The Pulsar brothers reported in a calm voice, the control room has been secured. There were a few infiltrators, but no one to fear. We are restoring the images. The giant screen came back to life, showing the exterior of the manor. In the image, Kael stood imposing. His night-black aura activated, enveloping him in a palpable darkness. He raised a hand, and a voice charged with malevolence resonated in the hall through the loudspeakers. Infernal flames. A torrent of black flames, said to burn even light, was expelled from his hand. The dark fire spread with devastating fury, consuming several Dawn defenders who were at the manor's entrance. Terror and destruction had arrived at the guild summit. A shout echoed from behind the outer walls of the Orion Manor, "Divine Torrent!" A powerful wave of water shot out, attempting to extinguish the infernal black flames that Kael had unleashed. Diana, the Aurora Cardinal, emerged with fierce determination, flanked by 2 Dawn adapters. Together, they launched powerful water-type defensive attacks, their auras glowing as they fought to contain the advance of the dark flames. With considerable difficulty, they managed to stop Kael's initial onslaught, steam hissing as the water collided with the fire. But focused on the intense battle against Kael's flames, Diana and the 2 adapters failed to notice the imminent threat. 2 executives of the Moon faction, stealthy and lethal, had launched their own devastating attacks. Cutting wind. Wind axe! They cried, and sharp blade-like gusts of wind flew through the air, heading directly toward the 3 defenders. In the last instant, the ground beneath them shook. A solid rock wall and 2 imposing stone pillars quickly emerged, blocking the aerial attacks. The impact generated a dense cloud of dust, but when it dissipated, the defenders were unscathed. The attack was frontal and fierce. The Moon faction executives, many Class A or Class B nearly advancing to Class A, charged with brutality. They knew that their numbers were not their greatest advantage, but rather the quality of their adapters and the element of surprise. Despite their ferocity, the Dawn's resistance began to organize, and more elements of this guild joined the defense of the Orion Manor.